Welcome into Hog Zone with Locked On. Alex Stewart with John Nabors back in studio. Bye week, John. I don't think there's anything much to talk about. I think we can go home.
Yeah, it's pretty boring, actually. I don't even know why I'm here, to be honest.
Pretty slow, honestly. No, we're going to get to all of that and more. And because it is such a big news story, there's so much to talk about. We got to bring in two people from THE. So let's call them up right now. We got Tyler Cass and Nick Luttrell. Fellas, how you doing down there in Little Rock? Just as crazy for you, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I don't know if I've slept in about a week now, but yeah, we are on to a new era and things are a little wild. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 6 days since Sam Pitman was fired, and we're just sitting here going through all of this.
It feels like 6 years and 6 seconds all at once.
Yeah, it's been insane. It's been a crazy week, to say the least, for sure.
It's gonna be a crazy few months.
Well, they say that time is a human construct. So, I mean, it could be 6 weeks, could be 6 months, 6 minutes, who knows? But it has felt like forever. John, I want to bring you in here first since we are up on camera right now. What were your initial thoughts when you heard it? It broke about noon on Sunday. I think we were all expecting it, at least expecting some change. Maybe some people thought it would be Travis Williams that got the axe first, and maybe Sam would be on shaky ground. But it happened. Sam Pitman fired on Sunday. What was your initial reaction?
Well, at least on Saturday night is when it started kind of coming out that something was about to happen.
Right.
And then when they ended up making the move on Sam Pitman, I don't think it was surprising. I think it had to be done. You can't give up 42 points in the first half at home in front of what was the 10th biggest crowd in Razorback Stadium
10th largest crowd and the 8th largest margin of victory. So two top tens.
It's not the ratio that you want.
No, it is not.
After something like that, it's just hard to try and say, hey, let's continue to make this work. You need to send a message. You needed to send a message to the team, to the other coaches, to the fans. Hey, that's not going to be tolerated. You were already on thin ice, but after that, I wasn't surprised. I honestly, though, felt like before the season started that he would at least make it towards the end. But, I mean, you had to make the move right then and there. I understood it.
I think everybody understood it. And I think a big reason, to your point of maybe wanting to wait, we discussed it a little bit throughout all of our coverage for all of our stations and respective shows, was that buyout. It's about a $3-point-some-odd million difference if he had made it to the end of the season and had a losing record since 2021, I believe it was. He was sitting at 32 and 34 overall, but 29 and 27 I think, since 2021, which is the important number. So, Little Rock, if I can bring you guys back in, do you think it was the correct call to fire Sam Pitman mid-season, or do you think they should have waited? I'm on the side with John. I think it was probably the right call at that moment in time, and the money is just secondary.
Yeah, I mean, look, not to be a vibes guy, but the vibes were just so bad in the second half of the stadium. Like you mentioned, that's a top 10 crowd, and it was probably a bottom 10 crowd by the end of the game. You never want to have that kind of dichotomy like that. And so the point of the buyout, if I'm an Arkansas fan, the fact that they pulled the trigger now makes me a little more optimistic, because that means that the money, as it were, basically said, hey, it's okay not to wait. We are willing to pony up to pay this extra money to get Sam Pitman out of here. And that would also mean, at least in my brain, we are willing to pony up the extra money to get whoever we want in here, or at least that money is going to be less of a problem.
Yeah, and it was interesting what Hunter Yurachek said in Monday's press conference, how, Sam Pitman wasn't really set up to succeed. They don't have a program that is set up to succeed financially. But then later he said, in the future, we're going to be just fine, basically. He assured
Next
people.
guy, don't worry about what I said about the last guy.
Yeah, anybody have just been saying that to, if Deion Sanders is listening, so Deion can be like, oh, they're going to give me a lot of money when I'm the next head coach there. I don't know if that's going to happen, or John Gruden or whatever. He might have just been saying that, but there actually might be truth behind that. I don't know for sure if donors just didn't want to give to Sam Pitman, if there wasn't a working relationship there that Pitman never set up. I don't know. Maybe the next guy can do that if Pitman didn't, and that's something that maybe gives Yurachek confidence to make that decision, to make that move, and to get more money. Because I know Hunter Yurachek wants the football program to succeed. He's not trying to run this program into the ground like maybe some people think. I think he wants them to succeed.
Well, Nick, I'm actually glad that you brought up what Hunter Yurachek said at that press conference on Monday when Bobby Petrino was introduced as the interim head coach. We actually do have that on file, and if we can pull that up really quick, for as eloquently as you put it, I think we can roll the tape and let people hear from Hunter himself that Sam Pitman was not necessarily set up to succeed from the beginning.
You were at the board meeting, and I gave you some statistics where our head coach compensation, our assistant coach salary pool, our support staff salary pool, and our overall operating budget ranked towards the bottom of the Southeastern Conference. I think with that information, Coach Pittman did not have the resources he needed to appropriately compete in this conference right now. I think when we're able to put in front of prospective coaches what the financial package for our program will be moving forward, I think that will alleviate any of their concerns about that.
Well, if we can go ahead and pop up, we have another graphic to build on top of that to further illustrate the point about Sam Pitman's tenure here at Arkansas. And you can see really from the start, he was not set up for success. He had an uphill battle to climb, and his records, I think, reflected that year to year. There you see it right there. He comes in 2019, 3-0 in bowl games, but 3-7 record. 9-4 was his peak in 2021. 7-6, 4-8, 7-6, and then 2-3 to start this year. Not really is what's going to get the fan base excited. And then not seen there 7-19 in one-score games, which might be the biggest indicator that he needed to go, John.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't have that type of program to where you are losing those one-possession games as consistently as you have been. Because let's be honest, it's a matter of if you weren't being in those games at all, if you weren't being competitive in those games at all, then it'd be an easy fix. But because you're so close, you're right there, you just can't do the little things to get over the hump. That's where the problem came into play. And the amount of times it kept happening year after year, time and time again, didn't matter the quarterback, didn't matter the coordinators, kept happening. You can't sustain that. You got to make a change there, and that was one of the most brutal stats I think that was really working against Sam Pitman.
Well, I think the word, and I've said it several times throughout our coverage of Sam Pitman being fired, the word to describe his tenure here was almost. They were almost elite. They almost got the win. I think my favorite shirt I saw on social media was Arkansas almost always almost wins was how it went, something to that effect. But I mean, that really was the case. But I think all of that kind of brings us nicely along here, Sam Pitman's record, to his firing, to what Hunter Yurachek said at the end there about candidates that might come in, their concerns being alleviated. Let's talk who those candidates might be. I've pulled up a couple names here, Backroom, if we can throw them up on screen that we can all talk about. Bobby Petrino, I think the obvious choice. John Summerall, a hot name. Rhett Lashley, maybe the favorite, the SMU head coach right now. And we got three other ones on the other side of this here. We got Gus Malzahn, Dan Mullen, and then to me, the big headline, Tyler's going to come through the screen and come choke me for this one, but Jon Gruden. I think that's the fun name. Can you imagine John Calipari, Jon Gruden together at one school? The media would never leave us alone. So Little Rock, if I can bring you guys in, thoughts on not necessarily those six, but just the candidates as a whole.
Yeah, I do think that this time around it is a bit more of a desirable job than the last time we were going through all of this. And that was one of the issues. It was one of the great things about Sam Pitman was how clear it was that he wanted to be here. He wanted to be at Arkansas, and they made that very clear from the beginning. And I think there was some issues behind the scenes of lots of people did not want to be at Arkansas. The candidate pool that you just mentioned there, those are guys who might want to be at Arkansas. Dan Mullen is a name that I kind of like just because of the success that he's had in the SEC, and he certainly seems like a guy who wants to get back to the SEC. Jon Gruden, for all the, who saw him eating, dinner in a Razorback hat at Doe's or whatever of it all, he's made it clear in the past he wants to be in the SEC, and he certainly has an affinity for Arkansas. Arkansas does feel like a more attractive job than last time out, especially if, like Hunter Yurachek said, the money is there, not just for the coach, not just for the coordinators and the coaching pool, but for the roster. If all that comes together, and it seems like it is at least a little better than it was in 2020, then it's a little not easier job for Hunter Yurachek, but you don't have to convince guys just as much.
Yeah, I think it makes it a more attractive job because of what Sam Pitman did, as many close losses that he had. The program is in better shape than it was before he got there overall. I think it also helps when you look at, and maybe candidates aren't looking at this when they're deciding whether they should take the head coaching job at Arkansas, but when you see what John Calipari is doing with the basketball team and seeing all the money that is brought into the basketball team, and people with right knowledge know that area, know Northwest Arkansas, and see it as a place where it's a wealthy area with a lot of big donors. So
if you give people something to spend on, they will.
Yeah. And so I think if you can get a coach that gets people really excited, I think a Jon Gruden could do that. I think a Dan Mullen could do that. I'm not necessarily against a guy like Rhett Lashley, but I don't know if the being from Arkansas matters as much as it used to, because John Calipari has came in here and been an amazing coach. Now, he was already a Hall of Fame coach, but I also think that matters less and less because of how many players from Arkansas actually go to the University of Arkansas, and that's just losing its meaning in the college landscape that we have it today. And I know myself and the old people out there probably still wish it was, a bunch of Arkansas people playing for the Razorbacks. I grew up watching the Razorbacks. The reality is that's just not how it is these days. So I just
say you're from Springdale. Rhett Lashley is from Springdale. Why is the Nick Luttrell name not being tossed out there?
I don't know. They should give me a ring.
Anybody's a candidate at this point, I think. Just about everybody can throw their name in the ring for this, because the fact of the matter is we're not really going to find out or get any movement until a few months from now. But, hey, we've got plenty more time to talk about that and much more on this show. We're going off to a commercial break real quick, though. When we get back, we're going to talk about it all.
Hog Zone with Locked On Razorbacks is sponsored by Bet Saracen, Arkansas's favorite sports betting app.
Welcome back to Hog Zone with Locked On. Where we left off, if you were with us before the commercial break, we were talking candidates for that open head coaching job. We heard from THV. I wanted to give us a chance to talk about real quick the name I really like, Rhett Lashley, the SMU head coach. From Springdale, went to Arkansas, coached at Arkansas. He's got the ties, but I think more importantly, he's shown the ability to build a program up, which he has done with the SMU Mustangs, taking them to the college football playoffs last year. And prior to being in the ACC, I think last year was their first year, he battled up through the ranks and then showed, hey, I can compete in a Power 4 conference. So Rhett Lashley, I think, is the hottest name. I believe he's the betting favorite if people are into that to land the job. But I think he's a good fit here, John. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it almost seems like it makes too much sense.
Right.
It seems like, that's way too obvious. It can't be Rhett Lashley because it's way too obvious. But, the guy played here. He's from here. He has a lot of friends here. I know that there's donors that really like him. I know he's got boosters, all of those things. But it's a matter of what he's doing at SMU. You mentioned going to the playoff last year. People don't understand how insane it is to walk into a major conference in your first year with no funding and then not only run it, but then go to the playoff. Like, that's an incredible feat that SMU did. I know that everyone's looking at the record this year, sitting at 2-2. They're like, oh, no, we don't want him anymore. It's like, that's an incredible thing to do. But would he be willing to leave there for Arkansas? I'm not saying that Arkansas is not a good job. It really is. But we know SMU, they have everything. They have money. They have donors. They just don't have fans.
What's the problem? He built them into a premier program to where he would want to stay. So are you going with Rhett Lashley as your guy, or do you have somebody else in mind?
Someone that I'm going to throw into everybody is going to be.
Might as well.
Yeah, is Alex Goresh. I mean, that guy, or Golesh, is a guy who not many people talk about, probably don't know about. He was the offensive coordinator for Tennessee when they were really going with Hendon Hooker and all that, and he's currently at USF. Really great offensive mind. And here's a little tidbit people don't realize. His wife is from Arkansas. In fact, she's from Greenwood.
There you go.
And she grew up a Razorback fan.
Well, Hunter Yurchek said connections are just the cherry on top. There you go. So we might be bringing him in. Look, the fact of the matter is, folks, as I said before the break, we're really probably not going to get any true movement on this until maybe late November it starts rumbling. December is where we start taking it seriously. But January seems like, to me, the time where we're really going to find out who that next head coach is.
Well, if it's still January, there may be some problems.
We got the portal, all that.
Yeah, we got to get. If they get to the December, that's when you kind of have it happen. But if they have a coach that's unemployed, that's going to be the next guy. Maybe you hear about him during the season, but no current coach is going to leave their current program to come to Arkansas right now.
Well, but you know what? So it's fun to speculate about this, and we have plenty of time. But we also have a football season left to go. Arkansas 2-3, trying to piece it together here in the bye week. Now, of course, there is some turmoil in the program, but Bobby Petrino, well, he had a message for his team. He said, hey, we got to stick together. Here's the interim head coach saying what they got to do to succeed the rest of the way.
I think in football you have to always talk about courage and being courageous, and I think that's part of what we have to do now. We just got to get together and become one. You know, that's, I think, one of the issues we've had is the separation in offense and defense. We need to be able to come together as one unit.
Come together as one unit, as we will be doing right here with THV. We'll bring them back in. They're not done yet. THV, what do you boys make from that statement right there? Can the Arkansas Razorbacks come together? Can they salvage the season?
Well, I don't hate that it's a thing, or excuse me, I don't love that it's a thing that even had to be said, that you get the sense that maybe there was a bit more division amongst the team than we had previously heard about.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you want them to be together as one unit. You want that to have been a thing that was happening, you know, during spring ball, during summer workouts, during fall camp, not, you know, during the 5th week of the season after they fired their head coach. So already maybe a bit of signs of where things went wrong. As far as going forward, I mean, look, Bobby Petrino is coaching as a man with nothing left to lose at this point. He is coaching very literally for his job. It's most likely, almost definitely, his last shot at a major head coaching job. It's one that he has made very clear that he wants. I think he has to pull off something really, really special in order to get that interim label dropped. But again, we go back to before the Notre Dame game when they clearly let go of the rope. This was a team that was 2 to 3 plays away from being undefeated. The fact that they didn't make those plays is why Sam Pitman's no longer there. Right. If a Bobby Petrino-led team can make those plays, there is still a chance for this season to be salvaged. Yeah,
and back to the unity part that he's talking about, I was surprised. I mean, you saw that in the Notre Dame game. You saw a lack of effort, but I didn't see, you know, we don't know what goes on in the locker room, but I didn't see, you know, guys butting heads or really there not being a team chemistry there. And it's easy for that to fall apart when you lose a head coach. And I think it's really difficult to group them back together with an interim head coach. Sometimes the guys, some guys will rally around that and they'll create an awesome, fun environment and they'll be able to come back and win a few games this season. Other times, guys are just gonna quit on the team. Now, unbelievably, as of the time we're talking about this right now, there hasn't been anyone I know of that has entered the transfer portal or decided to leave. Like, that's kind of crazy to me. Now, maybe they're just waiting because it's a bye week and just processing through a lot of these things that have happened, because even Hunter Yurachek admitted it a few weeks ago. It really wasn't on anyone's mind for this to be happening. Now, Sam Pitman was on the hot seat, but it wasn't like we're going to fire him after the Notre Dame game. I don't know if many people saw that coming until what they started to do down the stretch, continue to lose those one-score games, and then, like you said, let go of the rope in that Notre Dame game and show that lack of effort that hopefully Bobby Petrino can fix. But I think it's going to be something really difficult for him to fix as the interim head coach.
Well, I will say he has come in and he has gone right to work. He's kind of no nonsense, which might be what the team needs. To your point, Nick, about nobody entering the transfer portal, it almost felt like he came in as sort of the godfather and he said, look, you can enter the transfer portal, but you're not going to play. You can't go anywhere immediately right now where you're going to make an impact. Your best bet's to stay here. Look, these last 7 games are your real only opportunity to raise your NFL draft stock, to get more money in the portal should you decide to transfer next offseason. He kind of laid it out and said, well, you don't really have a choice. And then on top of that, all that coming, you got to give the man credit after he just fired the defensive coordinator, had a say in that. But again, we felt like that had to go. But do you think Bobby Petrino, with this sort of hard-nosed, old-fashioned coaching attitude, can get this season going in the right direction, turn this team around? Or is it, I don't want to say a lost cause, but do you not like their hopes?
I mean, to me, it's going to be better than what we've seen. You know, I can't give them much worse. So I think it might be what the team needs, but it's just so funny because I'm a huge Bobby Petrino fan, and just the direct approach that he has, where he's so monotone. You know, courage is what we're going to have. We're going to be great at courage. And it's like, okay, great, but how is that going to equate to the win side of things? I just love the fact that you're going to have somebody who's been there before, who's a no-nonsense, and he was very direct and made him aware. Hey, you guys probably want to leave here. That's fine. Give me until the end of the season. Make some film together so if you want to go to the next stop, the next school, you'll have tape. And then you can showcase how good you are. But right now, go all in with us. Let's get through this thing, and then you can make your decision after the year.
Well, and the way they're trying to get through this thing, Bobby Petrino also said, hey, I wasn't super happy with how the defense played. I didn't love the offense either. We haven't been able to get past the 50. But defensively, too many mistakes. So look for the Razorbacks. He said they are going to simplify. We're going to take out those complex coverages, those complex calls. We're going to make things real easy on these guys. But we want them to play fast. And that speed should overcome the simplicity. Once you start playing with speed, you start making plays. Those plays start showing up on film. Arkansas starts looking good. Your stock starts going up. It's all, but you have to buy in. It all starts with buying in. THV, if I can bring you guys back in here, do you think that the Hogs are buying into the no-nonsense attitude Bobby Petrino's bringing in, or do you think it maybe is just a self-preservation sort of thing? Hey, we need to be better for us, so let's give it all we got.
I mean, we'll see for real, in that Tennessee game. It's hard to say necessarily before we see a game, because before the season, they were all telling us how much they had bought in to Sam Pitman and everything that was going on there. So hard to tell before we got to the field. But I mean, look, you saw like the very first picture that Arkansas's social media posted from practice. It was not a serene Bobby Petrino. It was a screaming Bobby Petrino. So the program is leaning into that to some extent.
Yeah, and I think that's good for the fans to see and for fans to grasp onto anything that they can right now to bring some positive energy to the football program. You certainly saw that picture trending a little bit. But kind of back to your question, Alex, I want to believe that this team's going to turn it around, going to put in the effort, going to play for Petrino, going to win 4 or 5 games, become bowl eligible, all these amazing things that I would just love to happen. But I don't know if I can, just because I haven't seen it, and just of what I saw from that Notre Dame game, I don't believe that just losing your head coach and then losing some defensive guys is really going to turn things around that much for this season to go a different direction and for them to all of a sudden play so selflessly. I think they got a lot of really good players, but players can only go so far, and talent can only go so far if you're not putting in the effort, if you're not actually trying and actually care about trying to win games. And so they might try, but they might try for themselves. Because Petrino brings up a good point in that, guys, stay here. Entering the transfer portal doesn't do you anything. It doesn't do you any good. Staying here can build your tape to enter the transfer portal, get you more money, NIL money to come back to Fayetteville next season, all of these things. But I just think it'll be really interesting to see kind of what happens. Like you said, we're yet to see what happens with this team now with all of these changes, and we haven't seen any of the practices. We've heard from Petrino like once since he met with the team. So there's all these things that we've still yet to figure out because it's the bye week and because it's so quiet right now.
Well, hey, you mentioned the future. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that, see where maybe they might turn it around. We'll take a look at the schedule, maybe see where they can pick up some wins after this break.
Hog Zone with Locked On Razorbacks is sponsored by Bet Saracen, Arkansas's favorite sports betting app.
All right, not much time left, so let's pop up the Hogs schedule for the rest of the year. THV, where do you see them picking up wins, if any, here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with 2 wins the rest of the way. Some combination of Auburn, Mississippi State, Texas, Mizzou. They win half of those.
Normally I'm an optimist, Tyler. I'm a pessimist. I got 1 win, and it's against Auburn. That's it.